You can be legendary. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. I wanted to talk a little bit about legacy and the concept behind it, and how you might just be laying the groundwork for something amazing that nobody sees as being amazing today. And this is a thought that entered my head when I was reading this. It was actually, it just came to me today, but I was reading my kids this book. I have this old book. Excuse me, I hit the camera. This old book, a Smithsonian book of comic book comics. This book came out as a big, thick book. This book came out in, it had to have been the 80s or something. 81. Yeah, this book came out in 81. So I got it. I saw this at the library somewhere around 88, 89. When I was just looking up random stuff in the library. This is pre-internet days, and I was just kind of searching through the card catalog and grabbing stuff off the shelf and just kind of thumbing around and things that I was interested in. I always had really quirky, weird things that I was interested in, and one of the things I was interested in was comic books. And so I saw this, and I loved old comic books because it related back to my grandparents telling me about the comic books they read when they were kids. And this is an amazing book because it actually has reprints of old comic books going back to the 30s and the all the way through to the probably the latest stuff in here is probably from the 60s or so. All of them, though, it's amazing. Today, they'd be legendary. But at the time, if you really think about it, what comic books were when these things were put out, they were disposable garbage in the minds of most people. They were nothing more than, because the comic book originated from the newspaper. The comic strips. Comic strips were seen in the newspaper, and they started collecting them together and putting them out. And when I was a kid, they were still newspaper print. It was still a very inexpensive paper that it was printed on. Nowadays, not as true. It's very much more magazine print and a lot more higher quality, and they charge to match that. But early on, you got them for a dime, which even at that time was still not, it's a lot more money than it was today. It's not worth as much now, but back then, even then, it was not a whole lot of money. Okay, you paid a dime and you got a pretty good sized book, which originally was nothing more than just comic strips. So what I mean to say is that they were not highly valued. But the ones that have lasted, the characters that have lasted, the stories that have lasted, the people that put those things together, the people that put together Superman and Batman and Little Lulu and all these classic characters, they've lasted through the years because they put heart into it. They put more than just the minimum that was necessary. And yeah, I'm sure at the time they knew that it would not be valued as highly as they valued it. But you could tell that they valued what they were doing. They just put more effort into it. Even though it was still corny, it was still goofy, it was still childish, everything that got put out into comic books through the years, especially in those early years. But even then, the ones that put the most effort into it, into something that was seen as nothing job. I'm sure they didn't get paid much back then. The reason why old comic books are so valuable is because people would toss them away. And so not very many of them still exist. And like I said, the quality of the paper was not made to last. It wasn't made to last forever. It wasn't made to be powerful. When I was a kid growing up, everyone started saving baseball cards and comic books like crazy because all the old stuff was worth so much. We all thought that, hey, if we hold on to it for a little while, it'll be worth a lot too. It's not the case. Those things still are not worth very much money. Years and years later, they're not worth that much money because everybody held on to them. The demand is not there because the supply is so high. But the fact that these things were so low value at the time, and yet now we prize them so heavily. I mean, you look at our entire culture, even just since I was a kid, comic books have become mainstream. Not necessarily the books themselves. The characters and the stories, though, are the top movies that are out there. The Marvel movies, the DC movies, all of these movies, major blockbusters, some of the top movies out there, some of the top money makers and merchandisers out there, all had their origination in comic books. It's a very simple idea, but I want you to reflect on it back to you and what you do. And how what you do, chances are, is not highly valued by most people, just in general. But if you have a passion for it, and you see what you do, you see the artwork behind what you do, the art form behind what you're providing. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you're selling knickknacks online. If you can find a way to inject your soul into what you're doing, then you might just find that in the future, everyone will look at it a whole lot differently than they look at it now. But it takes you making that change, and it's not gonna happen overnight. It may not happen for a long time, but you can make a living. I'm hoping you're making a living. Make a living, build your business, and just put passion. The same thing's true of just about anybody. You think of any major mogul or any major person that has created a huge business and that was a trailblazer. You know, I'm always mention Walt Disney. Walt Disney was making child cartoons. Okay, you can't think of something that was more low on the totem pole in terms of things that were being seen by a large amount of people as cartoons, and yet built an empire. Even the software giants, the computer people, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gateses of the world, they started at a time when nobody knew or cared about what they were working on. It was not highly valued. And now we all look at them as being these geniuses, right? You don't need to go after something that's valued by everybody. Make what you're doing valuable. A friend of mine said, if you're putting heart into what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're a janitor. If you put your heart into it, it'll be valued at some point somewhere. And so just something to keep in mind. You should look for things that people respect and value, but don't. If you're already in a business, if you've already got your heart in it, then just wait. In time, somebody's really going to value what you're doing. And it's because you put your heart into it. And it's because it's valuable. It's valuable, but you got to remember it's all relative. And just because it's not seen that way today doesn't mean it won't be seen that way tomorrow. Hopefully that makes sense. If you want to think about more ways of how to make or set yourself up as being valuable in other people's eyes, or being able to set yourself apart from everyone else in your industry, go check out my book, 9 Ways to Amazon-Proof Your Business. The whole idea is to set yourself off so differently from everybody, including Amazon.com, that you make yourself completely bulletproof to competition. That's 9 Ways to Amazon-Proof Your Business. You can check that out wherever books are sold, or grab a free copy at AmazonProofBook.com. We'll be back here tomorrow night. In the meantime, get out there and let the magic happen.